Ever feel like your hormones are having a party and you weren't invited?
Oh, I like that.
Well, get ready to RSVP because today we're diving deep into the world of bioidentical hormone therapy. We're talking all things pharmaprodia.
Yeah, they're a compounding pharmacy that's really shaken things up in the hormone world.
And we've got some fascinating excerpts from them that we're going to unpack today. But this isn't just about the what of these hormones. We're going deeper. We're talking about the why should you care?
It's about understanding why these hormones matter to your everyday life. And what makes this even more interesting is how these custom treatments actually come together.
Exactly. It's like personalized medicine, but for your hormones.
So let's start with the basics. What are bioidentical hormones?
So unlike synthetic hormones, these are chemically identical to what your body naturally produces. Think of it like this. Okay.
You need to replace a vintage car part, right? You wouldn't want some generic knockoff. You want that exact match.
Right. Makes perfect sense. But I'm sure some of our listeners are thinking, okay, I get it, perfect match, but so what?
Mhm.
Why should I care about getting hormones from a compounding pharmacy instead of like a regular prescription?
So imagine your hormone levels are like a recipe.
Okay.
You throw things off balance just a little bit, like a pinch too much of this or a dash too little of that. It can really change the final product.
It's all about the balance.
Right. Now, commercially available hormones, they're kind of like pre-made meals. They come in these set dosages and forms, but not everyone fits neatly into those boxes.
Right. We're not all cookie cutters. What about those who need a more personalized approach?
Yeah. That is where compounding really shines. Think of a place like Pharmaprodia as your own personal hormone chef, basically. They can adjust those ingredients, get the measurements just right for you.
So like if you need a little bit more estrogen in your cream or a tad less progesterone in your pill, they can do that.
Exactly. And this level of customization, it can be especially important for individuals who are sensitive to certain ingredients, those fillers or dyes you find in those mass-produced medications.
Wow, that's a really good point. I never thought about that aspect of it. But if these hormones are such an exact match to what our bodies already produce, shouldn't our bodies just handle them perfectly? Are there side effects we should be aware of?
That's where it gets really interesting. You see, while bioidentical hormones, they are generally considered to have a lower risk of side effects compared to the synthetic versions, it's not a foolproof guarantee.
Right, because even natural substances can have an effect.
Exactly. And everyone's body chemistry is so unique.
So it's not like this magic solution where suddenly everything's perfect.
It's not a magic bullet.
You still need to be careful and monitor.
Absolutely. Close monitoring is key. And that's where the quality of the ingredients and the expertise of that compounding pharmacy really comes in.
Let's talk about quality for a second. Pharmaprodia mentions using high-grade raw materials, rigorous testing. What does that look like when we're talking about something as sensitive as hormone therapy?
Okay, imagine the difference between farm fresh produce and, those wilted veggies in the back of your fridge.
Okay, I can picture it.
We're talking about hormones that are highly purified. They come from reputable suppliers, and they go through multiple rounds of testing.
Oh, wow, multiple rounds. So it's really stringent.
Yes, they want to be absolutely sure that the final product is not only effective, but also safe for you. It's not some guy mixing things in his basement.
Right. So they're taking it seriously.
Pharmaprodia, they operate in sterile environments, much like you'd find in a pharmaceutical lab. This prevents any contamination.
That makes a lot of sense. You want that same level of care that you'd expect from any medication, even if it is personalized.
Exactly. But what's really interesting is that their commitment to quality, it actually goes beyond just the manufacturing process.
Okay, so there's more to it.
One thing that stuck out to me about Pharmaprodia is they're really big on this holistic view of well-being.
So it's not just about, here are your hormones, go fix yourself.
Not at all. They look at your lifestyle, your diet, your stress levels, basically all those factors that could be impacting your hormone balance.
So they're trying to get to the root of the problem, not just mask the symptom.
Yes, exactly. It's not a Band-Aid solution. It's about optimizing your overall health. And a key part of that is they actually work really closely with your primary physician.
It's a team effort.
Uh,
Which leads me to my next question. How does someone even figure out if this personalized hormone therapy is right for them in the first place? Because there are so many factors to consider.
You've got to have that open and honest conversation with your doctor. That's the first step.
Let's dive into that right after we hear from our sponsors, because I already have a ton of questions. So we're back, and I'm still thinking about how to even begin that conversation with my doctor about personalized hormone therapy. It's not like they hand you a pamphlet on it when you walk in.
It's not a pamphlet, but hopefully it's a conversation,
Yeah.
right? And a good place to start is understanding that not all hormones are created equal.
Okay, so different types,
Yeah.
right? It's not just my hormones are out of whack.
Exactly. Like estrogen, for instance. We often associate that with female reproductive health, but it plays a role in bone density and heart health for everyone.
Interesting.
And then you've got testosterone, often linked to, yeah, male characteristics, but it's super important for women too, for energy levels and even libido.
It's like they never taught us this stuff in health class. So let's say you think your hormones might be off. What happens after that initial conversation with your doctor?
Well, that's where those lab tests come in. They give you a snapshot of your hormone levels at that moment in time.
Right, because it's not like your hormones are just static.
Exactly. And Pharmaprobia really stresses that it's not just about getting those numbers back from the lab.
It's about understanding what they actually mean for you.
Exactly. And just like those lab numbers can shift, your experience with bioidentical hormone therapy can also change over time. Pharmaprodia really emphasizes this continuous monitoring and making adjustments as needed.
So it's not a take it and forget it kind of thing.
No, no, not at all. It's all about finding that sweet spot for your body, which could mean tweaking the dosage or even changing up the type of hormone as time goes on.
It's like fine-tuning an instrument.
Yes, it's that ongoing adjustment to create harmony.
And I imagine this is where that close relationship between pharmacopoeia and the patient's physician really comes in.
Absolutely. The physician brings their knowledge of your medical history and any other medications you're on, and then Pharmaprodia comes in with their expertise on the hormone therapy and compounding.
It's a team effort to really personalize that treatment plan. But with all this talk of personalization and fine-tuning, it makes me wonder, is this level of care even accessible to the average person?
That's a really important question, and honestly, I wish we had more information on the financial side of Pharmaprodia's services, because healthcare costs are a huge barrier for a lot of people.
For sure. It all comes back to that issue of transparency and access in healthcare.
Definitely. And while these excerpts from Pharmaprodia give us a peek into how they operate, you really need to weigh those potential benefits against the costs. And not just financial, but in other areas as well.
Speaking of other areas, even when you have what seems like a perfect hormone match,
Mhm.
are there still risks to be aware of?
That's where it's always good to have a healthy bit of skepticism. We've talked about the importance of quality ingredients and rigorous testing. But even with that, there's always a chance of side effects or unexpected interactions.
So even if it's natural, doesn't mean it's automatically risk-free.
Exactly. And being open with your doctor is absolutely key here. Don't be afraid to bring up any concerns you have, no matter how small they seem.
It's your health. You have the right to be in the know every step of the way.
100%. And that actually leads to another really important question. What's the monitoring process like? Because hormone therapy, it's not just a one-time thing.
It's an ongoing process, like taking care of a plant.
Exactly. You've got to water it, give it the right nutrients, make adjustments based on how it's growing.
It's a journey. So we've talked about this personalized approach, the potential upsides and downsides, and that open communication with your doctor. What's the big takeaway for our listeners who might be thinking about exploring bioidentical hormone therapy? What should they do?
If they're curious, the best thing to do is take that first step and talk to their doctor. Come prepared with questions, talk about those concerns, and figure out together if it's the right path for them.
It's about being proactive and informed.
Absolutely. And it's important to remember there's no one right answer for everyone when it comes to health and wellness.
It's about finding what works for you. And that often means doing a little digging, being open to new ideas, and never being afraid to ask questions.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
And on that note, we're going to take a quick break, but stick around because when we come back, we'll unpack even more about bioidentical hormone therapy. Okay, so we're back. And I'm thinking if someone's listening and they're really intrigued by this idea of personalized hormone therapy, what are those key questions they should be asking their doctor to figure out if it's right for them?
Yeah, that's important. I think the first question is always, is this even right for me? Just because these hormones are derived from natural sources, it doesn't automatically mean they're a good fit for everyone.
Right, it's not a one-size-fits-all kind of deal.
Right, your doctor can look at your health history, any other conditions you might have, any potential risks.
It's like going to a tailor.
Right.
You wouldn't just order a suit off the rack without making sure the fabric is right for you, the fit is good.
You want something that's tailored to you.
Exactly. And speaking of fit, I think another big question is about potential side effects. Because even with natural substances, there's always that chance of your body reacting in a way you don't expect. Or maybe it interacts with another medication you're on.
Yeah, you've got to remember that natural doesn't automatically equal risk-free. That's where having that really open communication with your doctor is super important. Like, don't be shy about bringing up any concerns, no matter how small you think they are.
It's your body. You have the right to know what's going on.
Exactly. And that leads to another important question, which is what's the monitoring process like? Because hormone therapy, it's not just a one and done kind of thing.
Right. It often needs tweaking along the way, right?
Yeah, you're always adjusting to make sure it's working the way it should for you.
It's like tending a garden. You plant those seeds, you water them, but then you've got to keep an eye on things.
Exactly. You've got to see how those plants are reacting and then make adjustments as needed. So, yeah, we've covered a lot today. We talked about the personalized approach, those potential benefits, the importance of talking to your healthcare provider. What would you say is that one big takeaway for our listeners who are maybe on the fence about bioidentical hormone therapy? What should they do?
I think if you're even a little bit curious, the best thing to do is have that conversation with your doctor. Go in prepared with your questions, express your concerns, and figure out together if it's the right choice for you.
It's about being proactive, taking charge of your own health. And I think that's something we can all get behind.
Absolutely. Well, on that note, we've reached the end of our deep dive into the world of bioidentical hormone therapy.
It's been quite a journey.
It has. But remember, everyone's health journey is unique, and what works for one person might not work for another.
That's why it's so important to do your research, talk to the experts, and figure out what works best for you.
And most importantly, never stop asking questions. That's how we learn and grow. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time.